The movie is all about a well-known local restaurant called The Seven, located on Spring Avenue in Hong Kong. Sky Ko, the talented chef at the restaurant, specializes in Southern-style cuisine. A TV host showcases the 30-year-old restaurant and its chef on a cooking show. Sky showcases his skills on national TV, even though he's already known as the top chef in all of Spring Avenue. His friend Yunny is introduced to everyone too. She typically handles the restaurant's finances. Sky is really clear about the quality of food and service they offer, and that's a big reason why their restaurant is so popular. It's usually so crowded that people end up lining up outside the restaurant. A rude customer walks in that day. After cutting in line, Sky won't serve him, even though the customer brags about his power and wealth. Before he leaves, the man chuckles at their little restaurant and reveals that his boss has invited a top-notch chef to open a 3-star restaurant right across from them. Yunny feels a bit scared by the thought, but she brushes it off as just a bluff. Over in France, the king and queen are excitedly welcoming their new baby boy. They throw a huge ball to celebrate the birth and invite a top-notch chef to whip up a feast for the guests. We meet the chef, Pauline. He's a Michelin-starred Korean chef who trained in France. Paul cooks in a unique way that blends different styles without sticking to just one. He enjoys blending cuisines from various countries to whip up creative dishes. This chef's special features a dessert that resembles a red egg, but inside, it's packed with mango puree and coconuts for a delightful surprise. That's gross. This dish takes inspiration from the tradition where red eggs symbolize a blessing for newborns. The tasty dish and its meaning really resonate with the royals, and they give a big round of applause for Paul's amazing work. After the successful ball, he and his assistant Mayo head back to the restaurant where they work. The owner and their team cheer them on, celebrating their success together. The owner has shared that Paul has been promoted to executive chef of the entire Art Nouveau franchise. This step is a big deal for him, but surprisingly, he turns down the offer. Paul is looking to head back to Asia and chase a bigger, higher ambition. A Chinese businessman has invited him and Mayo to help open a 3-star restaurant. The team backs their choice and says goodbye. So, back on Spring Avenue, one of Sky's regulars tells him that the rumor about the new restaurant is actually true. Sky feels mixed about the news. He wants his small colony to grow, but a new restaurant could bring fewer customers and more competition. When Sky was 10, his dad would hit him and insult him for not being a talented cook. One day, he left Sky behind to chase his culinary dreams instead of being a dad, claiming that Sky couldn't even whip up a decent bowl of noodles. Picture your dad walking out over some noodles. Since then, Uncle Seven, who runs the 7 restaurants, has looked after him. He taught Sky all the food stuff he needed to know, which was different from what his dad did. Sky hasn't seen his dad in more than 20 years and isn't looking to make amends. The next morning, Paul gets to Hong Kong and heads to the market looking for a big group of fish. The seller has just one fish and chooses to sell it to Sky, confident he'll cook it up better. Paul says that a shopkeeper shouldn't be biased. They have a little disagreement before the seller splits the fish in half for each of them. A few weeks later, the opening ceremony for the 3-star restaurant Stellar takes place right in front of the 7 restaurant. Paul and Mayo welcome the chairman and manager of the Lee Management Group as they arrive, being the first guests at the restaurant. The folks from the 7 restaurants are kicking off announcements about the various discount offers they'll have for next week. When the security guards at the Stellar restaurant try to stop them, things get tense. This catches Paul and the guests' attention, prompting them to step outside and check out what's going on. When things get intense, Mayo proposes a cook-off to determine who's the better chef. Sky and Paul spot each other from the market and take on the challenge. They choose to have a fish-cutting competition. Paul goes first and quickly picks all the ribs from a fish with ease. After that, Sky slices the same fish into even pieces in less than a minute. The crowd is clapping for him, and even Paul can't help but be impressed. The chairman of the Lee Group needs to share the results. He says that the real results will only come out in the International Chef Challenge competition that both chefs entered. He's also saying he plans to take over the whole Spring Avenue colony to tear down all the buildings and modernize it. If Sky wins the competition, the chairman is ready to drop his plan to preserve the colony's heritage. If Paul wins, he's definitely going to stick to the plan. Sky knows the future of the whole colony rests on him, and while he feels the pressure, he's set on giving it his all. Over the next few days, fewer customers are showing up at the 7 restaurant. Uni's feeling anxious about the possibility of going out of business, but Sky is confident that won't happen. He tells her about escargot and field snails, saying there will always be folks who prefer one over the other. They don't need to change their food to outshine the stellar restaurant, since there will always be customers who prefer theirs. The next day, Sky feels let down when he heads to the market and discovers that the restaurant has snatched up all the good fish. The day is tough for the workers at 7 Restaurant, but things take a turn when they learn that Sky has been picked for the culinary competition. He's about to face off against Paul for a spot in the semifinals. But then, it's also announced that the winner will have to face off against the 2-time champ, Mountain Company. Sky can't believe his dad has finally reached the success he was aiming for. He's even more set on making it to the finals and going up against him. That night, 7 gets back from his trip and invites Sky to a pub. Sky is super excited to meet him after such a long time, so he runs to the spot but sees his dad with Uncle 7 instead. Mountain straightforwardly states that he still doesn't trust Sky and has no regrets about choosing his career over him. The words really cut deep for Sky, but he masks his hurt with anger. He says he'll win the competition and show that you can be a great cook without being a jerk like Mountain. During the culinary duel, contestants have 90 minutes to whip up a dish of their choice and show it off. Sky is preparing a classic salt-baked duck, and Paul is whipping up a foie gras sorbet. The whole 90 minutes are pretty intense as both cooks really showcase their skills while preparing their dishes. Sky effortlessly slices into the duck, pulling out the insides with ease, leaving the audience in awe. In the end, he bakes the duck in salt and cracks the outer layer to show off a perfectly cooked duck with veggie stuffing. The judges give it a go and appear to be more impressed with Sky's duck than with Paul's sorbet. When it's time to vote, Paul gets 3 9s and an impressive 10 out of 10, totaling 37 points. Right after, Sky gets 2 10s from the first 2 judges. The third judge scores him a 9, while the last judge scores him an 8. Since both chefs are tied in points, the head judge decides to declare Paul the winner because his dish presentation outshines Sky's bland plating. Even though Paul won, it didn't really prove he was a great cook like everyone thought it would. During the victory celebration, the manager tells Paul that he plans to replace him with Mayo for the finals. He thinks women are more appealing in the media than men. When Paul defends his role as head chef, Mayo reveals that he struggles to taste certain flavors, like saltiness. For the last few months, he's been relying on a notebook filled with all his recipes to cook and can't do anything by himself. Mayo admits she never wanted to be friends with Paul and only teamed up with him to outshine him as a chef. Feeling betrayed and hurt, Paul storms out of the restaurant, leaving it all behind. That night, Sky runs into a tipsy Paul outside an event stadium. For a few minutes, they put their rivalry aside and talk about their past and struggles. Paul shares that his dad was an amazing chef, and his last wish was for Paul to follow in his footsteps. Sky shares details about his relationship with Mountain. After the chat, they discover a shared respect for one another. They throw bottles of alcohol at Mountain's picture on a billboard and curse at him in Korean. Paul isn't ready to throw in the towel on the competition just yet. Since he can't join as a representative of the stellar restaurant, he chooses to participate as an individual chef instead. After breaking down the rulebook, he even invites Sky to join him for the semifinals. The manager of Stellar is at the 7th restaurant, trying to get Uncle 7 to sign over his restaurant to the lead group. So Paul and Sky show up and share the news about their partnership. Paul reminds the manager that since he won the competition, he can compete in the championship. Sky and Paul will be working and training together for the next few weeks. They explore each other's cooking styles and find a shared approach to modernizing traditional cuisine. The culinary competition semifinal is happening at the Studio City Casino in Macau. The winner of the round will have to take on the reigning god of cookery, Mountain Company. The competition kicks off, and Sky and Paul bring their culinary skills to the table, going head-to-head with 4 other talented chefs from around the globe. Somehow, the lead group got Mayo involved in the competition too. She cooks with extra care to show she's better than Paul. She prepares an oyster dish with frozen foam that the judges initially praise, but when they taste it, they find it a bit underwhelming. So Paul and Sky are whipping up a deconstructed mapo tofu. Sky knows how to pick out flavors and ingredients, and Paul has a knack for the techniques and processes in cooking. They whip up a classic dish, but give it a fresh twist. The judges rave about the dish, clearly impressed by it. They end up winning the competition and making it to the finale. While everyone cheers, Paul glances at Mayo, who has her head down, feeling ashamed for betraying him and not being able to prove herself. In the final round, just one chef gets to go up against Mountain. Paul feels like he can't join in because he thinks he doesn't have good taste. He gets that Sky really wants to beat Mountain for personal reasons. So, he thinks Sky should go up against Mountain in the finals. The next day, Sky finds himself standing right in front of his dad. They get to cook whatever they want in an hour for the competition. The dad and son don't say anything to each other before the competition kicks off. Mountain starts cooking right away, but Sky can't help getting lost in his thoughts. He thinks back to when Mountain left him and how important the folks in the neighborhood are to him. Sky is overwhelmed by his thoughts and struggles to concentrate. Mountain splashes water on his son's face to bring him back to his senses. Sky's back in action, and he's quick to start making dough. At the end of the hour, Mountain creates a beautiful sugar display that looks like molten lava topped with a flower. Sky's dish is simpler, but it feels more personal. He makes noodles, just like the ones Mountain made years back, before he left his son behind. The judges taste Mountain's dish and are really impressed by it, but Sky never gives them his dish. He hands the bowl of noodles to Mountain instead. Mountain eats it and feels something as he recalls what the noodles mean. Finally, he has to admit his son's talent in cooking. It's hard to say who won the competition since the judges didn't even get to try the food. A crowd has gathered outside the 7 restaurant to celebrate the Chinese New Year. They share a meal prepared by Sky and Paul, all together as a family.